Slatán on Social Democrats agus Holly Cairns. Den Ahmed.
Thank you, Chair. I commend Sinn Féin for bringing forward this well-considered and timely bill, and I'm delighted to note as well that it seems to be a lot of my fellow rural female TDs who are taking the lead on this. Flooding continues to cause irreparable damage to communities and businesses across Ireland regularly. We desperately need a proactive, whole-of-government and sustainable response to this issue. Ministers of State and previous governments made progress in this area, and the Programme for Government has aspirations. And I think Deputy Sherlock went into the history in enough detail, but it's essential as well that our response to flooding is more comprehensive. I think to properly deal with flooding, we have to consider the broader landscape. We need to see the end of bad planning, piecemeal interventions, and flood relief needs to come with afforestation, a watershed approach to flood management, and we need to do our part to address climate change by reducing our national emissions and fulfilling all of our other climate commitments. The bill represents the type of holistic approach needed by creating a single competent authority to coordinate flood risk and management along the River Shannon. A single body clearly responsible for flood management be addressed. Watershed programmes provide integrated flood management and protections, addressing planting forestry along watercourses, wetland and habitat restoration, fish passage and water quality improvements. There's also need for greater coordination of planning and development along rivers. But we should be working with the landscape using enhancing natural defences. We're familiar with the phrase flattening the curve in relation to the pandemic, but it also applies to river flooding. Measures to strengthen storage upstream, better agricultural land management and sustainable urban drainage systems are proven methods of addressing flooding with less of an impact on landscapes and towns. Instead of economically and environmentally costly projects focused on towns, we need to solve the problem by looking at the whole river system. The single authority this bill proposes could facilitate this approach. The current practice of flood management in Ireland prioritises expensive hard engineering works such as massive permanent walls and embankments, which significantly impact on the natural and cultural landscape. And I hope this proposed agency would take a more nuanced look at understanding the issues involved and proposing more proportionate responses. Related to this is levels of public involvement on flood planning and implementation. Morally and legally under the Århus Convention and related agreements, members of the public have a right to participate in a range of decisions where there may be an environmental impact. And that local knowledge is just so important as well. Too often the communities most affected by flooding feel overlooked as their voices are largely disregarded or frustrated by bureaucratic and technical systems. The creation of a new agency is an opportunity to avoid mistakes like this in the past, to outline a new partnership model with families, farmers and businesses along the river. We should have drawing up a certain plan and programmes relating to the environment. Finally, I think it's important to say that we can't talk about flooding and not refer to climate change. It's a driving force behind the increased scale of occurrence of flood events in recent years, and if we don't take it seriously, even the OPW's walls won't save us. Ireland's 2020 targets to achieve a 20% reduction of emissions on 2005 levels. However, projections indicate it will be in the range of 5 to 6%. The government's annual transition statement was released during the summer, and its catalogue of our current policy inadequacies should have been a wake-up call. Action is required immediately. The past 5 years since the signing of the Paris Agreement have been squandered on shallow gestures and a focus on efficiencies over achievements. We need action not only because of the inevitable fines, but because of the moral obligation we have for the next generation. The proposed climate action bill is most welcome, however its deficiencies are being highlighted already. It's severely lacking in terms of climate governance, accountability and target ambition. We need real climate action backed up by robust legislation if we're going to address flooding. I welcome this bill and I thank deputies for highlighting flooding and speaking up for their communities, and I look forward to contributing more in its in its committee stage, and I hope that there's scope as well for amendments that increase public participation mechanisms and seek sustainable flooding solutions. Thank you.